Right, so in this video, I wanted to talk about the benefits and the pros and cons of working in the winter. So I'll just set that up. Let's leave it like that for a while. Often the most common complaint that I hear from people about their liquidators is they've got fine lines and films left behind. And sometimes I ask, well, send me a picture, send me a video, more so a video than a picture, show me what the problem is. And straight away I know exactly what their issue is. So they're blaming the liquidator. And when I first started window cleaning, the liquidator was never around. I was not on YouTube and I was really bad at cleaning windows. And I was using ETO Rubber and ETO squeegees. And especially in the cooler months of the year, I was getting fine lines and films. Now, going back to this guy who sent me the videos, he was saying, well, you know, I've done everything you advised to do. I'm using two hands. I'm using the soap solution preferred method. I'm using tool and technique, but I'm still getting lines and a film left behind. And he said what rubber he was using. Now, I've got exactly the same rubber, and it causes me exactly the same problem. But it's not the liquidator's fault, it's the rubber's fault. Now, he was using ETO Rubber, and I've got 10 strips of 36-inch problematic ETO brand new rubber. But in the mornings, it leaves fine lines and a film behind. That's not the liquidator's fault, because if I put that in any other squeegee channel, it will still give me fine lines and a film left behind after the swipe. So I said, unfortunately, the rubber batch you've got isn't going to work very well in the mornings, especially when it's cold. So you need to hopefully go out, buy another batch of rubber, and hopefully it won't give you that much of an issue. Now, most people have said on their videos that ETO Rubber is the best. I've always thought it was the most overrated rubber in window cleaning. Probably not the worst, because I've used facelift rubber and a few other rubbers that I really couldn't get on with, but I think it's the most overrated because it's not the softest rubber, it's not the best gliding rubber, it's just the most expensive and most well-known rubber. So in my book, it's the most overrated. So working in the winter can be problematic, but also working in the winter can and is, for me, much more enjoyable to work in, because I've soaked that window up 5 minutes ago, and I can put my 12-inch squeegee in the right place at the right time. Now, I've not added soap to the bucket of water. I've not had any squeaks, and I've not had any snags. I've not had any problems with my tool and technique, and I've used the world's worst performing, for most window cleaners, squeegees to use, and I've had no issues. And that window was wet for a very long time. Let's wet it up again and proceed with the video. So I use the winter time to hone my squeegee technique. So if anybody watches my videos often, I often said in the summer over the years, I scale back the sizes of the squeegee because the windows are drying too quick and lots of other issues which the heat of the sun will cause. But when it comes to working in the winter, that's when my tool and my technique gets up a few notches, because I will up the size of my squeegee channel, and I'll up the performance level of my squeegee technique, because now I can work in a much nicer climate. I can get the windows done in sometimes half the time. So I often say, well, I'm working 2, 3, 4 times quicker than other window cleaners that I know. Sometimes I'm working twice the speed of the poles and blades in the summer. So by the time I'm working and honing and improving my squeegee techniques, by summer, well, let's say springtime, summertime, when it starts getting warm again, my squeegee level and my performance and my accuracy and my precision and everything else that goes in making my squeegee technique to the highest level it can be, is even better. So I use the winter time to practice and perform and get better at my work. But you can get the problems, especially when you buy a bad batch of rubber, you've got no control over the rubber. You just go out, you buy it, you think it's going to be great, and it's not so great. The person selling, or the company selling the rubber, has no control over the rubber. The people making the rubber has no control over the rubber, because rubber fluctuates in quality, and sometimes a batch of rubber won't work so good. For me, I've always preferred Mormon soft black rubber, Black Diamond black soft rubber, and Unger soft black rubber. Now, not many people know this, but all that rubber is the same rubber. Made by the same manufacturer, it's just a little bit different dimensions in the rubber width. So I don't want to be using Black Diamond rubber in a liquidator. I don't want to be using Unger soft black rubber. This was a few years ago. Maybe they've changed their suppliers. Maybe they've changed their products now. But at the time, it was all one rubber. It was all the same formula from the same company. And sometimes I get better results from Black Mormon soft rubber in the winter, and sometimes I don't get so good. But generally speaking, I find it the easiest rubber to work with. Might not be the longest lasting rubber for a lot of people, but I'll get weeks and weeks of longevity out of my squeegee rubber, especially when you're using it both sides. And then you can cut it down and put it in a smaller size, so you can regenerate your rubber again and use it for a number of weeks or months afterwards. But I've always found that the Mormon black soft rubber, the Younger black soft rubber, and the Black Diamond soft black rubber was my preferred rubber overall to use. There are longer lasting rubbers. There are maybe, I don't know. I just, whatever I get on with, I tend to just stick with. I don't really want to be experimenting with other people's ideas and oh, this is great, that is great. I find what I'm comfortable using, and I just stick to it. So yeah, just stick to what you know. Try not to listen to what other people have to say or want to propagate or want to sell you. Just find out what works for you and stick with it. Don't worry about everybody else. Because if I was to worry about what everybody else thinks, the liquidator would never come about. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, speaking to you on the camera. I'll just be just a regular window cleaner, trying to earn a living, working longer, harder, slower, like everybody else, getting less results. So the only issue that I find working in the winter the most, not the moisture, not the problems with the film left behind, because it doesn't really, if the rubber is newish rubber, it shouldn't leave any film behind. If the rubber is worn, not sharp edge, and it leaves a film behind, I found that can sometimes cause problems. But if it's a sharp rubber, I don't really have any, I can't remember that. I don't have any problems. I just don't, it might lag after you made the swipe, but no problems. Last but not least, when it's freezing cold, that's when things make my work harder. And I can't work really under the temperatures of -2. My screen wash that I use is meant to be -27, but I find after -2, -3, the windows just stay frosted, especially when it's in the shade. In the sun, it won't be like that, but it's in the shade. And after the time when you're working, it's in the shade when you go around a building. And another bonus that I like working in the winter is I get to wear more clothes. So I enjoy wearing clothes. I don't really like to wear one layer of clothing. And in the winter, I can wear more clothes. And if it's really cold, I can put a scarf on. I can wear 2 layers of everything or 3 layers of everything. And wear some big woolly socks. I just like working in the winter. And much more enjoyable than working in the summer. So, just a quick technique advice from me. This is an 18-inch washer. So this is the smallest washer that I use now. And these are my 14-inch. See that? So, if that window was dirty, I can just give it an extra scrub. But I'm going to put my tool in the right place at the right time. And not only have I cleaned that window very thoroughly with a very fine amount of film of soap solution, I've scrubbed it, but I've got no drips. Because it's not, I'll put this tool in the right place at the right time here. I'm going to take a lot more soap solution off. in one go. Still not really many drips, but yeah, that is what I do. When on this, open the windows here, I'm going to use these now as my smaller scrubber washer. This is what I do. And now it's not as hot, I can put my bigger tool in the right place at the right time. Go for those minimum moves, get more work done, focus on the technique, focus on precision, and taking my squeegee level up a notch or 2 or 3 or more. So by the time I reach round to springtime, summertime, I'm that much better with my tools and techniques.